welcome to my channel. Today I'm going to be sharing with you a book review of the books I've read in May and June. So if you enjoy this type of content and other homeschool and lifestyle content, please remember to subscribe and let's get into it. All right, so I read a lot of books over the last 2 months, 15 to be exact. This is not all of them because there was a big chunk of them that were on my Kindle. And so I'm gonna share the ones that I read with you. I'll mention there was a few on my Kindle that were not just fluffy books. A lot of them were more like fluffy books, but there was a few that weren't. So I'll mention those ones as well. And then I can link the other books I read down below on my Kindle. So if you want to check them out and read the description, most of them are like Regency romance times. So if you want those types of books that are clean and everything like that, you can check out that list down below. All right, so in the middle of May, me and my husband went to Mexico for an anniversary trip for a 15-year anniversary. It's almost 16 now, but it was to celebrate 15 years. And so I actually got a ton of reading done because we were just relaxing a lot of the time. And I took 2 of these books with me, I believe. So these are the Ascendant series by Jennifer Nelson. And I'm trying to think, oh, it was Jessica from the Waldock Way. She said that this was her daughter's favorite book this last year, The False Prince, and then there's 5 books in the series. And so I got it, and I was almost like, I finished this one before we left. But a few days before we left, I was like, I'm gonna wanna read the rest of them. So I ordered the rest of them, but since we were packing very light and just taking carry-ons, I just took 2 of the books with me. And so I think after we were there just a couple days, I had already finished them. Luckily, I had books on my Kindle that I could read, so I read those the rest of the time and then came home and finished the rest of the series really fast. But so they're very simple YA clean books, and they're very fun. I love the character in them. You get the idea of a false prince. It begins with this orphan boy, and his story is what becomes all of these books. And so, like I said, there's 5 of them in this series, and I actually have some more books from her over there on the shelf. And I haven't started them yet because I was like, I gotta read some other books first before I can read those. Because if I like them as much as I like these, then I forget I have other books I'm supposed to be reading and I don't read them. And so I really love these series. My oldest son, who's 13, has started reading them. I think he's on the 3rd book, or maybe he's finished with it. I just took this from the boys' bedroom. But I really think my 10-year-old would love him too. I've told all my kids, like, you guys can all read them because they're clean. There's nothing that's necessarily overly sensitive or anything like that for a little bit younger audience. And I think my 10-year-old would relate to the orphan boy the most. Like, just the humor, it's just really funny. And I just loved them, obviously. I would have read them faster. I feel like I read them 2 weeks total, but it probably would have been like a week and a half if I had had them all with me in Mexico. The next book I wanted to share with you is The Miracle Morning. And this is the same author that wrote The Miracle Equation. And so I reviewed that one last time, and I think I already had gotten this book at that point. This one actually came before The Miracle Equation, but I read them backwards. It doesn't necessarily matter, but this explains a little bit more before, and then he talks about the Miracle Morning in The Miracle Equation as well. So basically he goes through, he talks about some things that happened in his life that led up to him creating a miracle morning of where he gets up. He has certain things that he checks off the list that he does in the morning. And I'll give you the list of what those are because he created a mnemonic device so you can remember them. But I probably will not remember them just to give them off to you. That would be awesome, but I'm not that good. And so he goes through and he talks about those things, but I also love how he makes it adaptable. And so it's like, if you at first just need to get up 10 minutes earlier and that's enough for you, then you can just take a few minutes per thing and then you're good. Or you can start waking up an hour earlier and take more time per each thing. Or if you only have very little time, or maybe some mornings you only have very little time, but other mornings you have more, you can do like a 6-minute miracle morning. It can just be like, because there's 6 things, so you can just do them 1 minute each. So I like how it's adaptable. And then also before you like tune out and you're like, I'm not a morning person, everyone can become a morning person. I firmly believe that. I've always liked mornings more than evenings, like staying up late. That's just kind of what I've gravitated towards. And I know certain people have certain preferences, but I believe everybody can become a morning person if they want to be. If they want to change and do things in the morning, then they can. This book also has some extras at the back. So he adds in stuff for like getting to bed early, or at least being able to fall asleep without your mind going 100 miles an hour, because he dealt with insomnia and wasn't sleeping well for months. So he has some like firsthand experience about those things. So those are new to this like newest version of it. They're not in the original, but his affirmations, I should have had my other notebook here. I just like filmed a little thing for this for Amazon. And so I was like, oh, I should have just kept it because it had all my page numbers on it. But the savers is the, I don't know, mnemonic. So it's life savers, right? It's super funny. And it's for silence. Now here we're gonna really test me. I'm not gonna know them all. Okay, so silence, affirmations, visualization, and then we're on E, exercise, and then R is for reading, and S is for scribing. Look at that. See, I even remember them. And so all these things he goes through and talks about them in this book, what they look like. And scribing is journaling. He just needed something that made a fun mnemonic that was easy to remember, right? The lifesavers. And so that's what he talks about, journaling and writing things down. He goes through just little bits of, you can have, again, a big exercise routine. It can be small. Talks about different affirmations and how to make them meaningful to you instead of just something to say. And that's kind of a lie about yourself, like I'm the richest person in the world, you know, or something that's not true, because then you just don't actually believe it. And so he gives a lot of good points and tips. And he goes through, if you do struggle with getting up early in the morning and you don't like to be a morning person, he gives tips for how to maybe overcome that, or at least start to overcome that. And by like setting your alarm clock in a different room, or drinking some water, getting up and maybe moving your body a little bit might wake you up. Having intentions the night before, like I'm gonna wake up early and I'm gonna be refreshed. And just the difference, like a positive mindset about it makes. So he goes through all those things. I really love this book. I love the miracle equation as well. I'm gonna use both of them in our homeschool to teach my kids, to help them also have some goals and to see how like meaningful a morning could be. I already had morning routines and would get up earlier than my kids and do scripture study and different things like that. And now I've added in a few more things to my morning, and I'm just so grateful. I just love it so much. So one of the books I read on my Kindle was Homefront by Kristen Hanna. I always want to say her name backwards because it's like two first names anyway. And I really enjoyed it. It was one that I think you guys recommended. I think one of my friends recommended. I can't remember. But I had heard several times, like, read this one, and I believe it was on Kindle Unlimited, so that's why I read it on my Kindle. I really, really liked the book. All of her books are heart-wrenching, all of them. They have their really good history, like you learn a lot about certain things or certain times in history, but they're all very true to what would have been happening, right? She's not sugarcoating things. Hard things are happening. That's real life. And it's a little bit gut-wrenching. And so there was parts in this book that I was just trying not to sob. So I'm not a big crier, but every once in a while books, they can get me and I'm just like, oh my gosh. So basically, I'm not going to tell you the whole thing, obviously, because you need to go read the book, but it's about a family in more like modern day times, but the war in Iraq is going on. And so the mom has been in the military for several years. And like her, and she has some kids. She has two girls. One of them's like a teenager, one's a little bit younger and stuff. And so it talks about her relationship with her husband, how it's not so great. And then she gets deployed and all the things that encompasses. So it goes through their whole story, and I really, really liked it. All right, so the next book that I read was Project Hail Mary, and I read that on my Kindle because my husband already had it. He had already read it before on his Kindle, and I saw like our local librarian from our middle school recommend it. And so I was like, oh, I should try it, and that Ryan Gosling is going to be in the movie, which the trailer just came out this week. So don't watch the trailer if you haven't read the book, okay? You should go read the book first. And I hadn't read any books by, is it Andy Weir? I don't know if that's how he says his last name, but this was the first time. And I'm not usually a huge sci-fi person, but I actually really liked it. His goal, so he also wrote The Martian, which I'm gonna talk about in a minute. So his goal is to create something like a sci-fi book that maybe could actually really happen under all the right conditions, not just something completely made up, but using science. He really likes science, and so he tries to make sure that it's like this could actually happen if the conditions were all perfect. And so Project Hail Mary was a really fun read. It's about, so the main character, who is going to be Ryan Gosling in the movie, is a scientist. He's a high school, a junior high maybe, I think junior high science teacher. He really likes that, but then there's the sun is dying. Like our big sun in the sky, not like a child. Sorry, that could be confusing. Like the big burning ball in the sky is dying. And so they get him to help. They create this project to try to save the sun. And it's tricky. Like I feel like the trailer gives things away in a different order than the book, so I don't really want to say too much. There is some language in it, not as much as The Martian, but there is language. So if you're concerned about that, or having like a kid read it or something, there are a lot of F words in it. So just FYI, if you want to know that. But I really enjoyed it, and so much so that I went and watched The Martian again. I've seen the movie before, but it's been a long time. I went and watched The Martian again, and then after I watched it, I ordered the book. So here it is. Well, this is not the first one I got. So I got just the normal version of The Martian and read about 90 pages in, and it had already said so many F words. I was like, oh my goodness. I'm like, how many? And like asking Google, and it's like over 100. And I was like, oh my gosh, no thank you. But then right below it's like, try the classroom edition. I'm like, oh my gosh, why didn't I know there was a classroom edition? So that's what I got, classroom edition at the top. And oh my gosh, so much better. So much better. No F words in this one, okay. They replaced all the words, like everything's the same. There is a few swear words, but they replaced everything else. And you can't tell. So even though I had read 90 pages of the other one, like you can't really tell. So I really enjoyed reading The Martian, and I think it helped too. I had the movie in my head as well, but first of all, they do a really good job of following the book with the movie. Like they're very, very similar. There are a few things in the book that don't happen in the movie, but the movie is already like over 2 hours long. So there wasn't really space to add in anything more. So those parts were fun. Sorry, I'm gonna like get a frog in my throat. Those parts were really fun to read too, because I had no expectation of what it was like because it wasn't in the movie. So I really enjoyed this, but get the classroom edition. Do not get the normal version, okay? The last book I wanted to mention is The Let Them Theory by Mel Robbins. This book is extremely popular right now, and it looks very cool. Like it has this like sunburst thing going on. I'm almost done with it. My bookmark is very close to the end. I'm about 50 to 60 pages left, but since I wasn't quite done with it, I was like, whatever, we're just gonna talk about it today because I'm not gonna save it till next time. I've loved it so far. I read The 5-Second Rule by Mel Robbins a few years ago and really enjoyed that book. And so when I kept seeing this one pop up, and I think it's talked about in a different book or somebody else mentioned it. I can't remember where it came up again. And when I kept seeing it, I was like, okay, I need to go read it. So I've been reading it and I really enjoy it. So she has this like theory that she created that helps physiologically as well as just normally get you to calm down. or to just kind of release things, release control. Because as humans, we want to control everything. And a lot of problems come from us trying to control every situation when we absolutely cannot. Okay, it's not that if I had all the time in the world, I can control all these situations. It's like, we do not have control over what other people choose to do and what other things are happening. We just don't have control. If, it started raining and there's lots of thunder today, I can't do anything about it. That's just the way it is. And so the let them theory is the idea of you just say, let them, kind of release. It's like a stop for your brain. She has research she talks about and stuff in there in the book. And then another part of the theory that she talks about that's very important is to let me. So you release control, like, I know I can't control this situation. I can't control other people's choices and decisions, but what am I gonna do? Or what can I do right now in this situation? And I just love the idea. And it's so simple. Like, it's such a simple thing that as you go through situations and you start to feel yourself getting a little stressed, like you're stuck in a line and there's nothing you can do about it. Like, you're just stuck in the line and you're all stressed about it, instead of allowing that stress to just keep building up. It's the let them, and you can calm down and just like, what can I do with this situation? Maybe you can get to know someone in the line. Maybe you can catch up on a book, pull out your Kindle, pull out a book in your bag or whatever and read while you're waiting in line. There's a lot of different things that you can do. So not all these situations you feel like you have to control them. And I think a lot of times we don't even know that we're doing it, right? It's just become so normal for every situation. We just and we just want to rush through, be able to get through everything really fast, be able to micromanage every situation, that we forget that it's not normal to be able to control everything. And so I really loved it. I say it like I've finished it, but I finished most of it. And she goes through different situations that are helpful. She does have a link at the back. I need to look it up, because this isn't talking about like with your parenting children, not just like let them do whatever, that's not what it's talking about. She's talking to adults here and adult situations, but she did work with, I don't know if it was a child therapist or psychologist, and come up with some ways you could apply this to children and to parenting. And she has a link in the back of this book or a web page or whatever it is. I haven't looked at it. And so you can go and see what those options are. So the idea itself is not her teaching you how to parent or anything like that, but she has ways that it can be applied to that. So just so you know, don't just go and let your kids do whatever they want, because that's not the idea. All right, so those are the books I've read over the last 2 months. I have a lot more books to get through, like hardcover, softcover, paperback, whatever books before we go to Africa, because I can't really take books with us. It'll just be too heavy to travel with. And so I'm trying to read through them all as quickly as possible before I just will be on my Kindle basically all the time. So if you have recommendations, and especially ones that might be good for the Kindle, or easy to take notes on if I'm reading them on the Kindle or anything like that, put them down in the comments. I love your recommendations. They're always so great. And remember to give this video a thumbs up, and I will see you next time.